Greetings. Nikon's going to announce the D6 here in 2 days on the 4th, and I can tell you something with 100% undeniable certainty that will happen once they make that announcement. And there are only two possibilities. Before I get to those two possibilities, let's first do a recap that apparently the Nikon D6 will have a bottomless buffer, 2 compact flash express card slots, and an amazing buffer. So you'll be able to rip them off until the cards are empty, and that's wonderful. Supposedly over a 30 megapixel sensor. And I know there's a new battery, and supposedly an IBIS mechanism. Isn't that wonderful? Okay, that's all well and fine. Everybody knows that. But the only two possibilities once they make the announcement, if, and of course it will be between $5,000 and $6,000. Undeniably so. It's a flagship Nikon camera made in Japan with a lot of pride and time involved. So that's undeniable, even by people that hate Nikon. They know that the D-series cameras are really tough creatures. Number one, if Nikon makes it essentially a D850 on steroids, which from all information we currently have, that appears to what it would be. Not the exact same megapixel count, but D850 on steroids. Obviously way better buffer. Obviously superior autofocus, better battery life, IBIS mechanism, quite possibly. So basically a D850 on steroids for twice the price, essentially, as opposed to that of the Nikon D850. And the only reason you would buy this camera, and what it's designed for, is really hardcore over that of a Nikon D850, for example. Really hardcore sports action, wildlife, and photojournalism. If that's what Nikon drops in their announcement on the 4th, almost everybody is gonna go, yeah. They're gonna yawn. They're gonna go, isn't that wonderful? It's a D850 on steroids for essentially twice the price. And they're not gonna sell many of them. If that's what they do. That will be an undeniable fact. The only people that will be jumping up and down in their frilly, lacy panties are the really hardcore sports action, wildlife, and photojournalists, of which almost none of you are. Almost none of you. Next to none of you that are watching this video. If, however, in situation number 2, Nikon does drop their own patent inside of this camera, a hybrid DSLR, the best of both worlds, mirrorless and DSLR, then it will be an amazing winner regardless of whatever they decide to charge for the camera. There are only those two possibilities on the Nikon D6. Only. There's no exception to that fact. Either it's going to be a Nikon D850 on steroids for essentially twice the price. Yeah? Improved video features, obviously, if it assumes that we have a IBIS mech in it. Wonderful, but the D-series cameras were only ever meant for a hardcore sports action, wildlife photojournalists. D-series cameras from Nikon are not at an evolution point, nor are they starting to be for video. I mean, that's what Nikon Z-series are for. Even though I hate the Z-series cameras, they're obviously extremely excellent for video. Wonderful. A Nikon D6 would not top a Z-series in that respect, except for a couple little nuances within the firmware. It's not possible. It's absolutely not possible. So that's not going to impress anybody. Why should I buy a Nikon D6? I could buy a Z6 for, $2,000 or like $1,600 on sale, which I think they're going for if you bundle the camera. Why would I do that? So there are only those two possibilities. Either Nikon's going to come out with a camera that people are going to yawn over, or they're going to drop their own patent into this camera, making it a hybrid camera. In which case they could ask any amount they want and people are going to buy the hell out of it. So what's it going to be, Nikon? Option number 1 or option number 2? Because there is no possibility other than those two options. Absolutely impossible. Period. Those are the only two. Thank you so much for watching, and Nikon.